He married my twin sister, after I died in her place. Rain lashed against the windshield like shards of glass, and the wipers fought desperately to clear the view ahead. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, heart pounding in rhythm with the storm. Beside me, Lena sat curled against the passenger door, tears streaming down her cheeks, blending into the mascara that had long since given up. "I told you it wasn't what you think," she whispered, her voice small, broken. I kept my eyes on the road, the glow of headlights smearing across the wet asphalt. "You don't have to explain, Lena. Just don't say anything right now." But she did. She always did. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't mean to hurt him. Or you. A bitter laugh escaped before I could stop it. My twin. My mirror. My burden and my heart. Lena, the one everyone adored, the one I always cleaned up after, and the one I would die for without hesitation. "I know," I said, the words tasting like ash. "I know you didn't mean to." The world outside blurred, the rain falling harder, the sky split by veins of lightning. I could feel her trembling, could feel the weight of her shame as if it were strapped to my own chest. I wanted to scream at her, shake her, tell her how much damage she'd done. To Ethan, to herself, to me. But I didn't. I just kept driving. The bend came too fast. The lights appeared out of nowhere. A truck, horn blaring, tires shrieking on the slick road. "Lena." Instinct took over. My arm shot out, pushing her back against the seat, shielding her with my body as best I could. The world became sound and light, a deafening crash, the splintering of metal, the sensation of flying, falling, breaking apart. And then nothing. It was the smell that hit me first. Sharp, sterile, antiseptic, and something faintly metallic beneath it. I tried to move, but my body felt heavy, as if I'd been pinned beneath the wreckage. My eyelids fluttered open, and everything was too bright, too white. "Lena? Lena, sweetheart, you're awake." Voices. My mother's voice. Tears in her eyes, her hands clutching mine. My father behind her, pale, shaking. "Lena?" I tried to speak, but my throat was raw, like I'd swallowed glass. My gaze drifted to the side, to a figure standing by the bed. Tall, disheveled, familiar. Ethan. His face was gaunt, eyes rimmed red, exhaustion etched into every line. But when he looked at me, he smiled. That smile I used to live for. The one that made the world right again. "God, Lena," he breathed, stepping closer, taking my hand from my mother's grasp. His fingers were warm, trembling. "I thought I'd lost you." I froze. He called me Lena. I tried to shake my head, to correct him, to tell him, but the words wouldn't come. My tongue felt too thick, my mind too foggy. I wanted to scream, to run, but I was trapped inside this fragile, broken shell. Then I saw it. Across the room, a small sink with a steel mirror above it. The reflection that stared back at me wasn't mine. It was hers. Lena's face. My sister's face. Pale, bruised, eyes wide with confusion and fear. But not my features, not my face. Panic clawed at my chest. I tried to sit up, but pain lanced through my ribs, my shoulder. Machines beeped in protest. "Easy," Ethan said gently, pressing me back. "You're okay. You're safe. Just rest. I'm here." His thumb brushed my cheek, wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling. I wanted to tell him. Wanted to say, "No, Ethan. It's me. It's Nora." But my voice was gone, stolen by whatever force had done this. And then, as if on cue, that voice, low and cold, echoed inside my mind. "You chose. You shielded her. Now you wear her face. Live with what that means." I squeezed my eyes shut, willing it all to be a nightmare. But when I opened them again, Ethan was still there. My parents were still there. And the truth stared back at me from the mirror. I had died for Lena, and now I was living as her. The pale light of morning filtered through thin white curtains, casting long, soft shadows across the sterile room. The steady rhythm of the heart monitor filled the silence, each beep a reminder that I was still here, wherever here really was. I kept staring at the ceiling, afraid to look anywhere else. If I saw my reflection again, I wasn't sure I could hold myself together. The face that wasn't mine haunted me even behind closed eyes. The door creaked open. I heard footsteps, hesitant at first, then faster, more urgent. "Nora?" I whispered without thinking, my voice barely audible, but the word felt wrong the moment it left my lips. Lena, came the voice I knew better than my own heartbeat. Ethan. I turned my head, and there he was. His dark hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot and hollowed from sleepless nights. And yet, when he looked at me, it was as if the sun had finally risen after endless darkness. Lena, he said again, softer now, like a prayer. He crossed the room in 2 strides and dropped to his knees beside my bed. Before I could react, before I could stop him, he pressed his lips to my forehead, gently, reverently, as if I was something fragile he couldn't bear to lose. I froze. Every muscle in my body tensed, my breath caught in my throat. This wasn't right. This wasn't mine. This kiss wasn't meant for me. His hand found mine, fingers entwining, holding on as if he could anchor me to the world. I wanted to pull away, to tell him the truth, but my hand stayed where it was, cold and trembling. I thought I'd lost you, he whispered, his voice breaking. But you're here. You're really here. The door opened again, and my parents entered, their faces streaked with tears, relief etched into every line. Oh, thank God, my mother sobbed, hurrying to my side. She cupped my cheek with shaking hands, her touch familiar but now foreign. Lena, sweetheart, we were so scared. My father stood behind her, silent, but his eyes said everything. Pride, grief, joy. I tried to speak, to correct them all, but the words wouldn't come. My throat felt tight, and when I finally forced out a sound, it wasn't my voice that filled the room. It was hers. Thin, fragile, soft in a way I never was. Mom, Dad. I croaked, the syllables tasting like betrayal. They both burst into tears again, overwhelmed by emotion, and I couldn't bring myself to shatter that fragile joy. Not yet. I'm so sorry, honey, my mother said, brushing hair from my face. We should have been there. We should have... Don't, I managed, voice breaking. Please don't. I didn't know if I was begging them to stop apologizing or begging forgiveness for the lie I was living. Ethan stood and looked down at me, his thumb brushing across my knuckles. His touch sent a wave of guilt crashing over me. You're going to be okay, he said. I promise. Everything's going to be okay now. I wanted to scream at him. No, it's not. It's all wrong. But my mouth stayed shut, the weight of the moment pinning me in place. Hours passed in a blur of doctors checking vitals, nurses adjusting machines, my parents whispering comforts I didn't deserve. When night fell, the room grew quiet. My parents went home to rest at last. A nurse dimmed the lights, leaving only the soft glow of the monitor and the city beyond the window. I pretended to sleep. I felt Ethan's presence before I heard him move. He stood by the window for a long time, watching the night, the storm that had raged now reduced to a soft drizzle. Then he came back to me, sat down, and took my hand again. His voice was so quiet I barely heard it. I thought I lost you, he murmured. And I swore if I got you back, I'd do everything right. I won't take you for granted again. I won't let you slip away. I kept my eyes shut, tears leaking from the corners, soaking into the pillow. I don't know what I'd do without you, he said, his thumb brushing over my hand like a promise. But now we have a second chance. And I won't waste it. And in that moment, I felt the walls of my world close in. Because this second chance wasn't ours. It wasn't mine at all. The ride from the hospital was quiet, too quiet. Ethan kept glancing at me as if he expected me to shatter into pieces right there in the passenger seat. I kept my gaze fixed out the window, watching the city rush past. Streets I knew, places that had been part of my life. Now every turn felt foreign, like I was being taken somewhere I didn't belong. The house came into view, modern and sleek, its large windows glowing warmly against the dusk. I remembered this place. Of course I did. I'd been here so many times before, helping Lena set up, bringing over housewarming gifts, laughing with Ethan in the kitchen over burned dinners and failed DIY projects. But now, stepping inside, it felt like trespassing. Ethan opened the door, holding it for me like a gentleman. I crossed the threshold, and the familiar scent of cedar and something faintly citrus hit me. His scent. The home they'd built together. You okay? He asked softly, watching me. I nodded, though the knot in my throat made it hard to speak. The living room was as I remembered, soft gray couch, framed photos on the walls, a shelf of books Ethan never quite got around to reading. I traced my fingers over the edge of the couch, the fabric cool beneath my touch, and tried to steady my breathing. "This is your home," I told myself silently. "At least it is, now." But nothing felt right. Upstairs he led me to our bedroom. The walls were painted a soft blue, calming. A large bed with a navy comforter dominated the space. The window overlooked the garden, where tiny solar lights flickered along a stone path. It was beautiful, perfect, and completely wrong. I froze when I saw the dresser. Lined up along its surface were photos, too many of them. Ethan and Lena on their wedding day, him in a navy suit, her in a simple lace dress, the kind I'd once dreamed of wearing. Her smile radiant, his gaze fixed on her like she was the only thing that mattered in the world. My heart clenched so tight I thought it might stop altogether. This should have been mine. I forced a breath, swallowing the rising tide of grief. I couldn't break down. Not here. Not in front of him. "You should rest," Ethan said, voice gentle. "I'll bring you some tea." He left the room, giving me space, and I sank onto the edge of the bed. The mattress was soft, the room smelled faintly of him. Clean soap, wood, something warm I couldn't name. I closed my eyes and inhaled, and hated myself for the comfort it brought. That night was a blur of exhaustion and awkwardness. When he returned, I managed a smile and sipped the tea he offered. We spoke in soft, careful tones, about nothing, about everything. He told me I didn't have to worry, that we'd take things slow, that he just wanted me to feel safe. I nodded, grateful and guilty all at once. When it came time to sleep, I hesitated by the bed. "I'm so tired," I murmured, my excuse ready. I think I just need rest tonight. Alone." His face flickered with something. Hurt? Relief? Maybe both. "Of course," he said quickly. "Of course. I'll take the couch." He kissed my forehead again, lingering just a second too long. My skin burned where his lips touched. Then he was gone, leaving me in the quiet of a room that wasn't mine. Sleep wouldn't come. The house creaked softly in the night. I lay staring at the ceiling, the moonlight casting faint patterns across the walls. Finally I rose, unable to bear the stillness any longer. I wandered the house in silence, bare feet on cool wood floors. In the office, I found a box shoved beneath the desk. I hesitated, then pulled it out, setting it gently on the rug. My fingers trembled as I lifted the lid. Inside were letters, dozens of them. Some sealed, some loose. All addressed to no one. I unfolded one, the paper crackling softly in the dark. "Ethan deserves better. I don't know why I said yes. I don't know why I let this happen. Every day I feel like I'm living someone else's life, and I'm terrified he'll see it. I'm terrified Nora will see it." Tears blurred my vision as I read. Letter after letter, confession after confession. Lena hadn't married him out of love. She'd married him out of fear, out of guilt, out of some twisted obligation neither of us had seen until it was too late. And now I was trapped in the life she hadn't wanted. The letters shook in my hands. I pressed them back into the box, wiped my eyes, and sat there in the dark, the weight of it all settling over me like a heavy, unwelcome blanket. In the distance, I heard the faint sound of Ethan turning in his sleep downstairs. And I wondered, if he knew the truth, would he still look at me the way he did now? The smell of coffee woke me before the light of morning did. I lay still for a moment, the weight of the night's discoveries heavy on my chest, before pushing myself out of bed. The house was quiet, except for the faint clatter of dishes, and the soft hum of a radio from the kitchen. I followed the sound downstairs, drawn by a mixture of curiosity and dread. Ethan stood at the stove, hair still tousled, sleeves rolled up, flipping pancakes with an ease that made me smile despite myself. The kitchen was filled with the scent of butter and cinnamon. The windows framed the garden outside, where dew sparkled on the grass like tiny diamonds in the early sun. He glanced up and saw me, and for a second he just looked, really looked at me, as if searching for something familiar, something he'd lost. "Good morning," he said, his smile tentative but warm. "I thought I'd surprise you." "You did," I said softly, trying to sound like her, trying not to let the tremor in my voice show. He plated the pancakes and set them on the table, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "I burned the first batch," he admitted, a sheepish grin tugging at his mouth. "But I think I redeemed myself." I sat down, wrapping my hands around the mug, letting the warmth seep into my fingers. Thank you, Ethan. This is really sweet. His eyes softened at that. I missed this. I missed you. And there it was again. The guilt. The ache. The silent scream inside me that wanted to tell him the truth, but couldn't. The day passed in small moments that felt too big. Ethan hovered, kind but watchful. I answered his gentle questions with as much care as I could, navigating memories that weren't mine. He laughed at things I didn't understand, shared stories I didn't remember. By afternoon, he leaned against the doorframe, watching me as I tidied the bookshelf. Let's go out tonight, he said suddenly, like old times. Just us. I hesitated, heart hammering. Out? A date, he said, stepping closer. Let's start fresh, like a do-over. We could both use that, don't you think? I forced a smile, nodding. Okay. Let's do that. His relief was visible, his eyes brightening like the sun breaking through clouds. The restaurant was one we'd all gone to once, me, Lena, and Ethan. Back then, I'd been the third wheel, smiling through the sharp sting of watching them together. Now I sat across from him at a small table, a candle flickering between us, casting soft shadows on his face. The air smelled of garlic and fresh bread, and the low hum of conversation filled the space. He raised his glass of wine. To second chances, I clinked mine against his. To second chances. The wine was rich and smooth, the warmth spreading through me faster than I expected. We talked, really talked. For the first time, it felt like we weren't pretending. He told me stories from work, memories of childhood, things I'd never heard before. And I listened, laughed where it felt right, felt the pull of him, the ease I'd always loved. His hand found mine across the table. His fingers were warm, calloused, familiar. You seem different, he said quietly. Like the woman I first fell in love with. My breath caught. I didn't know what to say, so I squeezed his hand instead, afraid that any words would betray me. Later, at home, I stood in the bedroom, unbuttoning my coat, when I caught sight of myself in the mirror. But it wasn't me who looked back. For a heartbeat, the smile in the reflection didn't match the one on my lips. The eyes that met mine were colder, sharper, as if someone else looked out through them. I stumbled back, the air leaving my lungs. I blinked, and the reflection was mine again, hers. I pressed a hand to the glass, fingertips trembling. Stop it, I whispered to myself. Get a grip. But the chill in the room said otherwise. That night, I lay awake, the house wrapped in darkness. Ethan's breathing was soft beside me, steady, as if the world had righted itself. But mine was shallow, tight, waiting. Then I heard it. A voice. Low. Familiar. Twisted with pain. You can't take everything, Nora. My blood ran cold. You can't have him. You can't have my life. Give it back. Murmurs, close enough to feel against my skin, as if she stood at my side. Goosebumps rose along my arms. I curled into myself, heart racing, tears burning at the corners of my eyes. I didn't ask for this, I whispered, but the night swallowed the words whole. And still, the voice lingered, a ghost between us, refusing to let me forget. Ethan watched me with new eyes these days. Every small gesture, every word that left my lips seemed to mean more to him than before. You're different, he said one morning as we sat together on the porch, sharing coffee. The air smelled of rain and cut grass. It's like I've got you back again. The you I fell in love with. Before all the walls went up, I forced a smile, my heart pounding beneath his gaze. Maybe I just needed to find myself again. He leaned over and brushed a strand of hair from my face. His touch sent both warmth and terror through me. The truth was, I hadn't changed. Not really. But I wasn't Lena, and that was the difference he felt. A few days later, my phone buzzed with a message I hadn't expected. Mara, hey, you up for coffee? Miss our catch-ups. My place? Mara, Lena's closest friend. The one person who could see through me if I wasn't careful. My fingers hovered over the screen. I should have said no. But avoiding her would only raise more questions. Me, of course. I'd love that. Mara's apartment was just as I remembered, bohemian, cluttered in the coziest way, with plants in every window and art covering the walls. She hugged me tightly when I arrived, and I tried not to stiffen at the familiarity. "You look great," she said, stepping back, eyes searching mine. "You seem lighter, happier." "It's good to see," I smiled, hoping it reached my eyes. "It's good to see you too." We sat, tea steaming between us. Mara talked about work, her latest disastrous date, her new obsession with pottery. I nodded, laughed in the right places, but my mind raced, trying to piece together memories that weren't mine. "So," Mara said at last, leaning forward, elbows on the table, eyes sharp now. "You and Ethan. Things seem better?" "Yes," I said too quickly. "We're reconnecting." Her brow furrowed slightly. "That's wonderful. After everything, I mean. After the trip." "Trip?" I blinked, heart skipping. "The trip?" Mara tilted her head, studying me. "Yeah, the trip to the cabin. You were so upset when you got back. You said it might be the end for you too." I scrambled for something, anything. "Oh, right, that trip. It's funny how perspective changes things, isn't it?" Her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "It sure is." Later, Ethan suggested we stop at a small cafe on the corner, a place familiar from their shared past. The kind of place that smelled of old wood and fresh coffee, where the baristas knew your name. "I haven't seen you smile like this in so long," he said as we sat down, his fingers wrapping around his mug. I watched him, the ease in his posture, the quiet joy in his eyes. He was falling in love again, with me, but not really, and that tore me apart. As we talked, his gaze lingered on me differently. I noticed the small crease in his brow, the way he tilted his head as if trying to figure out a puzzle. "You've started doing that thing again," he said after a while. "What thing?" "That little gesture, you touch your necklace when you're nervous. You always used to do that. Then you stopped, for years. But now..." I glanced down, realizing my fingers were indeed at my throat, though no necklace hung there. A habit I didn't know I'd carried over from my own life. He smiled softly. "It's nice. Like seeing an old friend again." His words warmed me, but the weight of the lie between us grew heavier. That night, as I lay in bed, I replayed everything. Mara's suspicious gaze. Ethan's tender words. He doesn't love me for who he thinks I am, I thought. He loves what he sees now, and what he sees is me, hidden behind her face. I stared at the ceiling, the darkness pressing in. The cracks in the mask were beginning to show, and soon someone would see through them. The park was nearly empty, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. A thin mist clung to the ground, softening the edges of the world, blurring the line between what was real and what was memory. I walked slowly, hands buried in my coat pockets, my thoughts louder than the crunch of gravel beneath my boots. How long could I keep living this lie? Every day the weight of it pressed heavier on my chest, until I felt I might break beneath it. Ethan's kindness, his trust, his love, it all felt like a stolen treasure I had no right to hold. I sank onto a worn bench beneath a skeletal tree, the branches reaching like bony fingers toward the gray sky. "You look lost, child." The voice startled me. I turned to see an old man seated at the far end of the bench, so still I hadn't noticed him before. His face was lined, his eyes sharp and clear despite his age, as if he saw straight through me. "I'm just thinking," I said cautiously. "Thinking can be dangerous," he replied, his tone light but his gaze heavy with meaning. "Especially when the heart and the mind are at war." I hesitated. There was something unsettling about him, something that made my skin prickle, but I couldn't look away. "Sometimes we have no choice," I said quietly. "There is always a choice," he said, leaning forward slightly. "But every choice has a price. The truth sets you free, yes, but it can also burn down everything you've built. A lie can shelter you, but it will rot the foundation beneath your feet." I stared at him, my throat tight. "How do you know?" He only smiled, as if he'd been waiting for the question. "Because I have watched many walk your path. Some chose truth, some chose comfort. All paid in the end." I blinked, and when I opened my eyes, the bench beside me was empty. The mist had thickened, the world quieter, as if holding its breath. That night the house felt colder than usual. I passed a mirror in the hall and froze. For a moment I could have sworn I saw Lena's eyes staring back at me. Not mine, not hers, but something in between. Accusing. Sad. I turned away, heart racing. In the kitchen, I heard the creak of a floorboard, the faintest whisper of footsteps where no one stood. "You can't have it all," the voice seemed to say, though no sound filled the room. I gripped the counter, trying to steady my breathing. "I didn't ask for this," I whispered, but the silence offered no comfort. Later, Ethan found me in the living room, staring into the dark fireplace. "You were miles away again," he said softly, sitting beside me. I managed a small smile. "Just tired, I guess." He hesitated, then took my hand. His fingers were warm, grounding me. "I need to tell you something," he said, his voice trembling just enough to make my heart ache. "These past few weeks, I don't know what changed, but I feel like I have you back. The you I fell for. The you I thought I'd lost." I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. He squeezed my hand, his eyes shining in the dim light. "I love you. I love this you, and I don't want to let you go again." Tears filled my eyes, and I turned my face away so he wouldn't see, because I knew. I knew the moment I heard those words that my time for hiding was over. I had to choose truth or the lie that had become my life, and whatever choice I made, someone's heart would break. The first light of dawn crept through the windows, painting the walls of the living room in soft gold and pale pink. The city beyond was waking slowly, unaware that my world was about to change forever. I stood by the window, watching the sun climb the horizon, my hands trembling at my sides. I had rehearsed the words 1,000 times in my head, but now that the moment was here, my mouth felt dry, my heart too loud in my chest. Ethan stirred on the couch behind me, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. When he saw me standing there, he smiled. Gentle, warm, the man I had loved in silence for so long. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, pushing himself upright. I shook my head, turning to face him fully. The weight of the truth pressed so heavily on me I thought I might fall beneath it. "Ethan, we need to talk," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Something in my tone made his smile fade. He stood, crossing the room until he was just a breath away. "What's wrong?" I drew in a shaky breath, meeting his eyes. "There's something I should have told you long ago. But I was scared, and I didn't know how." He frowned, confusion knitting his brow. "What is it?" "Whatever it is, we can handle it." "No," I said, tears brimming. "I don't think we can. Not this." I stepped past him, pulling open the balcony door. The morning air was cool, fresh with the scent of rain. I stepped outside, and after a moment, he followed. "This is where it happened," he said softly, his voice filled with memory. "Our first kiss. Do you remember?" I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. "I remember." "But Ethan, it wasn't me." He blinked, not understanding. "What are you talking about?" I turned to him fully, the rising sun casting a halo of light around him. "I'm not Lena." He froze. His face went pale, as if I'd struck him. "What?" "I'm not Lena," I repeated, voice breaking. "I'm Nora." Silence. The city seemed to vanish, the world narrowing down to just the two of us on that balcony, the weight of my confession hanging between us. "That's not funny," he said at last, his voice shaking. "Why would you say that?" "Because it's true," I whispered. "That night, the accident, I died saving her. But somehow I woke up in her body, and I tried to live her life, to make it right. But I can't, Ethan. I can't do it anymore." His hands clenched at his sides, his eyes wide with disbelief. "You're lying. Why would you lie about something like this? Do you want to destroy everything we've rebuilt? Everything we've found again?" "I don't want to destroy anything," I said through tears. "But you deserve the truth. You deserve to know who you love, who you're kissing, who you're sharing your life with." He took a step back, as if needing distance to process the storm of words. His breath came fast, ragged. "I don't understand," he said. You are Lena. You have to be. I see her. I see her face. I hear her voice. But look at me, Ethan," I said, pleading. "Really look at me. Haven't you felt it? Haven't you seen it? The way I touch you, the way I laugh at things she never found funny, the way I remember things she forgot. You're falling in love again, but it's not with her. It's with me." A long, terrible silence. And then his expression shifted. His eyes softened, filled with something like recognition, as if some part of him had known all along. Nora, he breathed, the name falling from his lips like a secret. I nodded, my heart breaking. I'm so sorry, I said. For all of it, and for the first time since the accident, I felt free. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I stood in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of a life that was never truly mine. The morning sun streamed through the windows, lighting up the dust motes in the air, casting long shadows on the bare floor. Boxes were stacked near the door, packed with the few things I dared call my own. On the coffee table sat a single sheet of paper. My goodbye. Ethan, live for yourself. And find the one you truly love. The one you've always loved. Nora. I placed the pen down beside the note, my fingers lingering on the paper as if I could will my feelings into the words one last time. The city outside was waking. I heard the distant rumble of traffic, the bark of a dog, the soft chime of a bicycle bell. Life went on, and it was time for me to do the same. I left the key on the table and stepped out, closing the door gently behind me. That night, I dreamed of her. Lena stood in a field of wildflowers, the wind tugging at her hair, her eyes bright and free of the pain that had haunted me for so long. Thank you, she said, her voice soft as the breeze. It's time for us both to move on, and when I woke, I felt the weight lift at last. Years passed, seasons turned, and I built a life of my own, small at first, then stronger, rooted in the simple joy of living without lies. The city felt different to me now, less like a maze of memories, more like a place of possibilities. That morning, I walked along a busy street, the scent of coffee drifting from a corner cafe. The breeze carried the warmth of spring, soft and promising. People hurried by, their lives full of stories I'd never know. And then I saw him. Ethan stood across the street, older, maybe wiser, the lines on his face deeper but his eyes still the same. For a moment, the world fell away. He noticed me. His steps slowed. His eyes met mine. And he smiled. Not the smile of a man burdened by confusion or regret, but of someone who saw me, really saw me, and knew the truth had set them both free. I smiled back, my heart steady for the first time in years. There were no words. None were needed. Just a glance, a shared understanding, and the quiet hope of a new beginning. The breeze tousled my hair, carrying with it the scent of coffee and fresh bread, the sound of laughter, the promise of another chance. And I kept walking, ready for whatever came next.